Hello there everyone and welcome to Floral Henna Layering Guide video. So firstly, I have stamped the two images from the stamp set onto a piece of white cardstock. I then have the first stencil and I'm going to pop this into place onto the more of the open flowers from the stamp set. So for this layer here, I will be using the Wisteria ink. I'm just using a mini ink blending tool just to add the ink through the stencil, just at the base of the petals, and then kind of graduate that ink outwards. Once that has been done, I can then turn the stencil slightly, and this is going to fit within the rest of the little petals that we have here. This time I am going to be using the Hydrangea ink to add in that darker shade to these other petals that we have. Once that's done, I'm going to move the stencil over again. So this is still the first stencil, and just add that into the center of the flowers. The first time around that I'm going to be doing this, I am going to be using the chamomile ink. I'm then going to move that stencil over and then fit that within the largest of the circles that we have in the center of the flowers. And for this one, I will be using the Snapdragon ink. So once I'm happy with that, I can then move that stencil over again and then add in the really smaller circles that we have right in the center. And for this one, I will be using the Marigold and a small blending tool just to add that ink through there. Once that's done, I'm then going to add in the leaves to this little flower cluster. So I'm going to add the leaves in. So the ones that we have the most leaves, I am going to be using the Firefly ink just to add in the color there. Once that's done, I can then shift the stencil around, and then we have these singular leaves that's off the top and the bottom. And this one here, I will be using the Grassfield ink to add that one in. I can then move that stencil around again and then add the singular leaf that we have down the bottom, again with the Grassfield ink. So once that one has been done, that is that whole image complete. I can then move on to the second stencil and then this image that we have over to the right. So for the first petals that I will be doing these in the iceberg ink. So I've just layered those up into place and then gone with the iceberg ink. I can then move that stencil over slightly. And then I'm going to be using the beautiful Eastern Sky ink to add in the rest of these outside petals that we have here. We do have like 2 layers of petals on these flowers. So for those with the outside petals, I'm then going to move to the inside petals. So I'm just going to add the stencil into place onto the outline of these. And this time around, I'm going to be using the ultramarine ink to add these petals in. So I'm just going to add that through the stencil there. I can then move the stencil over slightly, just kind of moving it upwards. And I am going to be using the azurite ink just to add the ink color through the rest of the petals. Once that's been done, I can then move on to the third stencil, and I'm going to add in the little flower centers. So for the first layer, I am going to be using the chamomile ink just to add the ink to the whole of that little petaled circle there, and then I can add in the circular pieces, and for that I will be using the Marigold ink for that one. So I'm just going to add that one through too. Once that's been done, I can then move on to the leaves. So I'm going to go with these 2 largest leaves that you can see here first. And for these, I will be using the Firefly ink to add the color through the stencil onto these, trying to add more ink to the base of these leaves than the tips to give me that beautiful gradient effect. Once that's done, I'm just going to move that stencil over slightly and then go with these 2 leaves that we can see here. And for these ones, I will be using the Grassfield ink. So once I'm happy with the amount of ink I have there, I'm then going to move the smaller leaf clusters, into place. And for this time round, I am going to be using the Shadow Creek ink to add that really dark green. This just needs a tiny move over just to add those smaller ones in at the bottom there. I can then add in the last little leaf kind of swirl that we have here, and I will be using the Mountain Pine ink for this one. Once I've added the ink through there, I'm then going to add the details onto the leaves just on these two here, and I will be using the mountain pine again for that. And that is all of the layering complete. We really do hope this video helps. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye bye.